What's up everybody, this is Master Ian Gamer. We just got a brand new Overwatch experimental card, the first in nearly 3 months, and it's featuring changes for Torbjorn, McCree, Moira, and Junkrat. There's not a whole lot of them to talk about this time around, but there are a few interesting ones I'd like to hone in on, so let's take a look. So first up we have Torbjorn, who got some fairly simple buffs. Overload, cooldown reduced from 10 seconds to 8 seconds, and Rivet Gun, alternate fire, ammo consumption reduced from 3 to 2 per shot. Moving on to McCree, Deadeye, initial slower damage ramping speed reduction reduced from 0.8 seconds to 0.5, and Combat Roll can now be used while in the air. That's a particularly interesting one, and I'll come back to talk about it in just a second after I've covered all the main changes. Moira, Biotic Orb, slowed speed when it has a target has been reduced from 27.5% of normal to 15% of normal, which basically just means it now moves slower when in contact with a target, be it an ally or enemy. And Junkrat Frag Launcher impact damage increased from 40 to 90, explosion damage reduced from 80 to 60, added fall off to the impact damage, between 15 to 25 meters impact damage reduced to 20%, and knockback amount reduced slightly. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk a bit about these changes. First up, the Torbjorn changes are pretty basic. There's not really much to say about them. They're just very slight buffs to some of his abilities, so cool, good for him. The McCree change also doesn't seem particularly special. We have the Deadeye buff, which is just going to make it a bit easier for him to hit targets. But the Combat Roll change is a rather interesting one, because this is one they played around with a while ago at this point, but it never actually ended up making it through to the live version of the game. But now they're retesting it seems, and are reconsidering the potential for him to roll in the air, which was a very popular mechanic when it existed for the brief window that it did. Honestly, I'm glad to see that they're bringing this back into his kit, since I think it's just a fun mechanic to be able to utilize as McCree, and honestly I don't think it's going to be super strong in most situations, but it's just a nice quality of life improvement, so good for McCree. The Moira change also is sort of whatever. The slowing of it, I guess, just makes it a bit easier to have it sort of focused on a specific target. My first instinct is to say this is going to be more useful when it comes to teammates you're trying to heal up with Biotic Orb, since you don't have to worry as much about it just sort of swooshing past them and just being lost somewhere on the map. Because I think most enemies, if they're getting hit by it in that regard, are just going to sort of walk away from it. So it'll be an interesting one to see how this plays out. Overall, not tremendous in terms of its impact, I don't think, but an interesting change to see them implement. And last we have Junkrat, who I think has perhaps the most curious changes in this experimental card. It seems like they're trying to take him in the direction they took Pharah a while back, when they made it basically where she got more value out of getting direct hits instead of just the splash damage from her rockets. That's basically what they seem to be doing here with the Frag Launcher, but they also added fall off damage, which I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like that's almost sort of countering the point of Junkrat's kit, where you just sort of lob things at the enemy. Sure, it rewards you for being more precise with your grenades when you actually hit the enemy instead of having it just explode near them, but I don't know if I like that fall off damage. It kind of forces you to get more into the fight so you get more damage from actually hitting people, but maybe at the same time it was just done to offset the overall damage buff he got in terms of getting the direct hit, as currently impact damage is going to deal a total of 150 damage if you get that direct hit on top of the explosion damage that goes with it. So you could literally one-shot a Tracer, which, yeah, I guess I'm not complaining about, but overall it's sort of an odd change to see them implement. So overall for these changes, I just have to ask, how do they relate to Overwatch 2? I mean, at this point, we know Blizzard is focusing really heavily on Overwatch 2. We've gotten basically no balance patches or experimental cards for months at this point. This one came completely out of nowhere. So I'm inclined to think that the changes we see here are changes that they're considering for Overwatch 2 more specifically, and are maybe just using the experimental card to test them out a bit. Granted, these aren't very extreme changes, and certainly we're not seeing all the changes we would expect for these heroes. Like McCree didn't have any flashbang changes, which we know is an ability of his that's going to change a lot come Overwatch 2. But maybe this is Blizzard just sort of testing the water, seeing, okay, what really works with this ability or this part of this kit and that part of that kit. But overall, I guess we're just going to have to sort of wait and see. Definitely let me know your thoughts on these balance changes in the comments down below. Are you a fan of any of them in particular? Or maybe you don't like the direction they're taking these heroes. As always, be sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, hit up that bell icon, and come join my Discord server to hang out and never miss any of my future Overwatch content. Special thanks to my YouTube channel members who help make these videos possible, and if you'd like to join them to earn some cool rewards, then just hit that join button down below. Otherwise, this is Master Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.